Welcome, Incredible Mysteries viewers, to a case that defies logic and haunts the skies above San Francisco. A chilling paradox from the height of World War II, a fully operational military airship, returning to land as if guided by an unseen hand, its engines running, its door ajar, but with its two-man crew utterly vanished. Tonight, we float into the inexplicable enigma of the Ghost Blimp of 1942. How did it land without a crew? Part 1, the patrol, the pilots, and the peculiar signal. The date was August 16, 1942. America was deeply embroiled in World War II, and along the West Coast, fears of Japanese submarine attacks ran high. To counter this threat, the U.S. Navy utilized a fleet of blimps for coastal patrols. Among them was the L-8, an L-class airship, originally a civilian Goodyear blimp, now repurposed for naval duty. On this quiet Sunday morning, the L-8 lifted off from Treasure Island in San Francisco Bay. Aboard were two experienced and respected pilots, Lieutenant Ernest DeWitt Cody and Ensign Charles Adams. Their mission was routine, a 4-hour anti-submarine patrol out to the Farallon Islands, and then north towards Point Reyes. They were professionals, familiar with the skies, the blimp, and the vast, often lonely, expanse of the Pacific. An hour and a half into their flight, at 7:42 a.m., Lieutenant Cody radioed a routine report, "AM investigating suspicious oil slick. Stand by." Oil on the water could indicate a lurking enemy submarine. This was their last communication. A few minutes later, the crew of the fishing trawler Daisy Gray and the freighter Albert Gallatin, both in the vicinity, confirmed sighting the L-8. It was circling low over the water, appearing to be investigating something. The Daisy Gray crew even saw smoke flares being dropped, marking the possible location of the slick. The blimp was clearly manned, clearly active, then silence. For nearly 3 hours, the L-8 went unresponsive. Part 2, the return of the Phantom ship at 10:50 a.m. A Pan AM clipper flying overhead reported spotting the L-8, seemingly on course. But less than half an hour later, at 11:15 a.m., the blimp reappeared. Not on course, not heading back to base, but drifting strangely towards the San Francisco coastline near Fort Funston. It was no longer majestic. Its fabric envelope was noticeably saggy, deflated, giving it a peculiar, V-shaped appearance. As it drifted low over Ocean Beach, it briefly touched down on the sand, a bump that caused one of its 325-pound depth charges to break loose and fall onto the beach. Miraculously, it didn't detonate. Lightened by the lost depth charge, the L-8 bounced back into the air, continuing its eerie, unsupervised journey inland. It grazed rooftops, snapped telephone lines, and startled hundreds of residents who watched in disbelief. Finally, after a nearly 5-hour flight, the Ghost Blimp came to a surreal, soft landing in the middle of Bellevue Avenue in Daly City. Its propellers were bent from impact, but otherwise, the gondola appeared remarkably intact. Part 3, the empty cockpit and the vanished men. Local firefighters and police were first on the scene, bracing for a crash landing and a frantic rescue. But as they approached the gondola, they were met with a chilling silence. They found the main cabin door unlatched and swung wide open, fixed in that position. The engines were at idle, but operational. The radio was on, fuel tanks were ample. Every piece of equipment appeared to be in working order. The logbook was open on the instrument panel. The parachutes were neatly stowed away. Even a briefcase containing classified documents, meant to be thrown overboard in an emergency, was still securely fastened inside. The only things missing were the two pilots, Ernest Cody and Charles Adams, and their 2 life jackets, which naval regulations required them to wear over water. The immediate search was massive. Navy personnel, Coast Guard, Army, and civilian volunteers combed the coastline, the ocean, and the land along the blimp's bizarre trajectory. They interviewed hundreds of eyewitnesses, but no trace of Lieutenant Cody or Ensign Adams was ever found. They had simply vanished into thin air. The Navy's subsequent board of investigation was thorough, but ultimately inconclusive. They determined that the L-8 had not been shot down, had not suffered a fire or serious mechanical failure. There was no evidence of foul play or sabotage. And most bafflingly, there was no reason for the men to have voluntarily abandoned an airworthy vessel. The official conclusion was a reluctant admission, cause unknown. Part 4: Theories of Terror and Treachery. The L-8 incident immediately spawned a maelstrom of theories, each more extraordinary than the last, attempting to fill the inexplicable void left by the vanished crew. Some suggested the most obvious during wartime, a Japanese submarine encounter. Perhaps Cody and Adams descended to investigate the oil slick, were captured by enemy forces and taken prisoner, then executed or held in secret. However, Japanese records after the war revealed no such capture, and it would have been a significant propaganda victory they never claimed. Other theories plunged into darker, more human realms. Was it an elaborate desertion scheme gone awry, where the men faked their disappearance? This was quickly dismissed by investigators due to their excellent service records and the lack of any discernible motive, or, more sinisterly, a murder-suicide. A violent altercation between the two pilots, ending with one or both falling from the open door? While plausible, the interior of the gondola showed no signs of struggle. Then there are the truly unconventional theories. Was it an alien abduction? A sudden, inexplicable encounter with something otherworldly that snatched the men from their post, leaving the blimp to drift silently to its improbable landing? Or perhaps a clandestine US military radar test, potentially involving high-frequency waves or experimental technology that disoriented or incapacitated the crew, leading to an accidental fall and subsequent cover-up? The Navy's own most plausible theory was a grim accident. One man might have leaned out the open door to deploy a smoke marker or fix something, slipped, and fell. The other, in a desperate attempt to rescue his comrade, also fell overboard. This sudden loss of weight would explain the blimp's erratic flight and increased altitude, yet, why no distress call? Why such a bizarre coincidence of both men falling, almost simultaneously, from an airworthy craft? Part 5: The Lingering Phantom and the Unsolved Silence. The L-8 blimp itself was remarkably resilient. It was salvaged, repaired, and even saw further service for the Navy before eventually being sold back to Goodyear, where it flew as an advertising blimp until 1982. Its gondola now sits in the National Naval Aviation Museum, a silent testament to an enduring enigma. But the fate of Lieutenant Ernest Cody and Ensign Charles Adams remains one of World War II's most baffling and unsettling mysteries. No bodies, no definitive answers, just speculation and a profound silence stretching across decades. The case serves as a chilling reminder of the unknown dangers of the sea and sky, and perhaps the secrets that sometimes remain deliberately buried. What do you believe happened to the crew of the Ghost Blimp? Did they fall accidentally? Were they taken, or was there a hidden truth that the government simply refused to reveal? Share your theories in the comments below. And if you're as fascinated by hidden historical truths and unexplained phenomena as we are, be sure to like this video and subscribe to Incredible Mysteries for more journeys into the shadows of the past.